Head west of Edinburgh and 20 minutes down the M9 and you'll come across the town of Linlithgow, small in size but huge in historical significance, with one of its claim to fame being the birthplace of Mary Queen of Scots. But to the inhabitants of Linlithgow, there's another story worth passing down the generations.
As much a clan tartan or a coat of arms can bring pride to a family, so can a town or city seal to its citizens. In the ancient town of Linlithgow, it's no different, with a seal depicting a black greyhound standing solitary, chained to a tree on an island. However, unlike most seals, the origin for this one has itself been lost in time, with most locals relying on legend to shed light on the creature's story.
It's a tale that all of those who are brought up in Linlithgow are told at one point or another. Today we're examining a rough guide to the Black Bitch story. Behind me on the loch are 3 islands which are central to this story. Legend has it that a man was convicted of a crime and as punishment was left to starve to death on one of the islands. Over a certain amount of time, the locals came to collect what they thought would be the poor man's lifeless body, only to discover that he was far from death's door. A watch was placed on the island to see if help was being provided by another individual. It was amazingly discovered that the man's loyal companion, a black female greyhound, had been swimming to the island each day to deliver food. In return for the creature's loyalty, she herself was chained to one of the islands and left to starve at her owner's feet.
It's a good story, but in fact it's just that, a story. The truth of what the emblem actually represents is far from the fantastical tale that the legend would have one believe. It's actually a brief insight into the town's vast history and geological placement. The water represents the loch, the tree is for the town's history of tanning, and the dog is for the ancient hunting grounds of the local area. So where did the legend come from? I'm hoping that the local tour guide, Alan Mallett, will be able to tell me more.
Alan, it's nice to see you. So, when did the legend actually start?
We don't entirely know when the legend started. We just know that in 1673 the Lion King of Arms granted to the people of Linlithgow to use the Black Bitch on the town crest. On one side was the Black Bitch, and on the other side was the Archangel St Michael, who's kind to strangers, the Archangel, the patron saint of Linlithgow. We know that the story probably predates that by a few hundred years.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do people react when you tell them the story behind it?
Yeah, well, normally when we get to this part of the palace and we're out overlooking the loch, I ask them the question, do you know what people from Linlithgow are called? And when I explain it's the Black Bitch, they normally either shocked silence or have a slight chuckle, but it wasn't what they were expecting. So I then go on to explain the story to them, and it kind of relieves the tension as they hear this quite shocking statement that people from Linlithgow are known as black bitches.
How is it that you become a black bitch? Is it you have to live in Linlithgow for a certain amount of time, or?
Yeah, it used to be you had to be born in the town, a bit like Mary Queen of Scots, you had to be born right here in Linlithgow. So if you ask some of the older people in Linlithgow, are you a black bitch? Sometimes they'll say to you, no, I was born in the hospital, which means I was born outside the town. So they don't consider themselves black bitches. But as more and more people are born in hospital rather than at home, the rules have had to change. And nowadays you can become an honorary black bitch after you've lived in the town for 18 years.
That's really fascinating. Thank you so much for taking some time out to speak to us today. Thank you.
So it seems in the case of the Black Bitch, fiction has taken precedence over fact. It's a real shame that the story of what the emblem actually represents isn't talked about more, but to the people of Linlithgow, the Black Bitch has become a symbol of pride and loyalty, and take great honour in being able to dub themselves with the title of a Black Bitch of Linlithgow, even if visitors may find it somewhat peculiar and a little shocking.